Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library System. And we're gonna do something I've been wanting to do for a little while. I got these wonderful coconut round frames. They're just, I've used them in jewelry before, but I was looking at them a little while back trying to think of what else can I do with these because they are so neat. So what I've decided that we're going to do is make a fall, um, autumn tree of life inside this frame. Yay! So I've got all of these wonderful amber chips. I've got some what have I got? I've got some aventurine, some red coral, and what else do I have? Some fire agate. And we're going to take those chips and we're going to take some 24 gauge wire and we are going to make our very own Tree of Life bracelet. So we're going to be using these these coconut frames. We're going to use the bead chips that I mentioned, 24 gauge wire. We're going to put it on leather cord. So we're going to have some leather cord and some end clamps to hold um, our lobster clasp that we're going to use. We're actually not going to make a clasp this time. We're going to just use a lobster clasp and some jump rings and make it as simple as possible. But all that you're going to need are your usual tools, your round nose pliers. Sorry, my ink pen was on top of my pliers and wanted to come with me. My round nose pliers, they are round all the way, the barrels are round all the way around, and you can see that they taper smaller towards the end and larger down at the hilt. And then the square pliers sometimes confuse people a little bit because they're slightly rounded on the outside, but on the inside, they're perfectly flat. And so that's why they're square. And then we have some cutters that we're going to use to cut our wire and our cord and a ruler to measure everything out and 24 gauge wire. That's it. Nope, that's not it. We're going to use these little clamps on the end of our bracelet to hold our lobster clasp and our jump rings. And I'll show you everything else again when we get down here to the other camera. Okay, so this is everything that we need. We have our bead chips that we're going to use to put on the leaves of the tree. We have our little clamps, these little clamps that we're going to use on the end of our bracelet to attach our lobster clasp and our jump rings. So those are all our finishing items. Then we have this lovely coconut shell frame, front or back. It doesn't matter which side you use. It's just gorgeous. And we have our 24 gauge wire that I've already cut out in 8-inch strands. I've cut 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. And then we're going to be using leather cord for the bracelet part of our bracelet. And I think that's everything. And there's our chips. Let's just scooch everything over here and let's get to work. So I have 5 8-inch strands of 24 gauge wire. Now, you can use more strands. It depends on how many tree branches you want. 5 of these will give me 10 tree branches. You can make it thicker than that. I've done way more than that, and I've done fewer than that. But I was keeping it down to these because I did this before, just to give you an idea. I did this before, and I just went absolutely crazy with my gorgeous little tree here. See if I can get this focused. Isn't that beautiful? But you notice anything missing? there's nowhere to put my leather cord to make my bracelet. So I just have this nice, pretty little tree in my nice, pretty little frame, and I can't even, well, I might be able to get something, scoot something up in here to make it into a pendant. But I just went nuts. I was just wrapping, wrap. And I looked at it and went, oh, okay. So we're gonna do 10 branches with 5 pieces of wire, 8 inches each. And I went ahead and cut them out so that you wouldn't have to watch me do that. That's one less thing that I have to do on camera. So what I'm going to do now is take my pieces, put the ends all together, like so. And then I'm going to just fold it in half. So just bring those little tips together and just give it a little bend in half. Because now what I'm going to do is wrap these around my frame. And I'm just going to do that one at a time. So I'm going to grab one of my wires, hook it over my frame, like so. And I'm going to wrap it around the frame just twice. So I'm going to take one side and wrap it around the frame, like so, nice and snug. Now be aware that this coconut, it's a shell and it's going to be a little slippery. So it's going to move around a little bit. Don't panic. That's just the way it is. And then I'm going to take my square pliers and just kind of push it down a little closer to the frame. Then I'm going to go to the one that I haven't done yet, this one, and I'm going to wrap it around the other direction. Let's wrap it around one full turn. Just like that. So now that one's on. Let's grab the next one and do the same thing. Let's wrap that around. Just wrap it on one side. One time. I like to take my pliers and I like to make it nice and tight. Then take my pliers and squeeze the wires down nice and close to the frame. Then wrap the other side down around one time. And you want the wires side by side. You don't want to wrap them on top of each other. Okay. And then again, take my pliers. Okay, let's move that one over and grab another one and do the same thing. Even that out there. That one's a little shorter on one side. There we go. All right, so wrap that around my frame one time on one side. And you can see how I've got so much space in there. I'm just going to pull it tight, nice and snug. And I'm going to show you another little trick too to get it nice and tight. And just use my pliers, squish that down a little bit. Go to the other wire, the other side of the wire. Okay, and I can see where this side is much longer than the other, so I'm going to unwrap that one. Okay, now they're even. Just going to rotate that a little bit. Here, now they're a little bit more even. And what happened is this side is longer than the other one. So what I'm going to do is just kind of rotate it around a little bit and take away from this side and give it to the other side so that they're a little bit more even. That's a little bit better. It's still a little off, but that's not a make or break. As long as they're close to the same size, you're good. Okay, let's scoot that one over. Grab the next one. And wrap one side. Oh, I said I was going to show you a little trick. Here's a little trick to kind of keeping it nice and close. Instead of trying to wrap it all the way around, pull it down one side and tighten it, and then up the other side and tighten it. Instead of trying to wrap it all the way around and then tighten it. Once you get the whole thing wrapped, if you tighten it halfway through, you can do a better job. Or so I've found. Let's go to the other one. Bring that down. Let's pull that straight down and tighten. And then up and tighten. And then crimp it down with my pliers. Okay, move that out of the way. See how much tighter that is? Doesn't move as much as the other one. Doesn't. Okay, let's move these over instead. Have them nice and tight, nice and snuggly buggly. There we go. Last one. Slide that on. And one side down. And when you're doing this, make sure you hold the other side, otherwise it's gonna roll around. One side down and pull it tight. And if you want to, you can go ahead and squish it down with your pliers before you go up the other side. These are just some little tricks that I've found that help make it a little bit easier to tighten the wire. And again, this is it's polished and slippery, so it's not going to be super tight around the frame. Which is kind of a good thing because you want to be able to shift the wires around a little bit to where you want them to go at first. You don't want it super tight. Okay, so I've got my wires on. Bring that around until they're standing up. Okay, and get all my wires together side by side. Pull them over side by side next to each other. Okay, there we go. So they're nice and side by side. You take my pliers and kind of squeeze them down a little bit. And now I'm going to take all of my wires and twist them together. So I'm going to just make sure all of my wires are together down here. I'm going to bring this a little bit closer. Make sure all of my wires are nice and together down here. Doesn't have to be perfect. This is supposed to be the root of a tree, so it doesn't have to look like anything perfect. It's supposed to look natural, like nature. Now, you can use your fingers to twist it, or you can use your pliers to twist it, but I would be careful with the pliers because they can scratch the coating of your wire if you're not careful. Okay, so I'm going to hold on to this with my fingers, and I'm going to twist it. Just give it a little twist, like so. And that's going to form the little base of my tree. Okay, So there's my little tree, the roots in my tree trunk right there. And then I'm just going to kind of play with it until it looks like a little gnarled tree trunk. So there's my trunk. And I don't want to go too far up. You don't want to go more than halfway up your frame because you're going to need space for your branches. So now I'm going to spread my wires out and try to find the two that go together and keep them together with each other. So just spread your branches. The ones that are the closest together, keep them together. And now that you've twisted it, of course, they're not going to be in the same place that they were when you first started. Okay, scoop that over there. This one's way over here by itself, so I'm going to bring it around and put it over here with the others. And just separate those out into pairs. So let's see what I've got here. These two can go together. These two can go together. Those will work together. These two and these two. So now I'm going to take two of the branches. I'm calling them branches. Yes, I am. And I'm going to twist those together. So I'm going to take two of my branches, these two over here, and I'm going to twist them several times. Just 1, 2, 3 twists. I think I'll give it another twist. There we go. And then I'm going to do the ones next to that one. Find two of those. Twist those together. Now, you want to make sure that you're twisting both of them at the same time. You don't want to wrap one around the other. We're doing an electrician's twist, which means you spread the branches, the wires apart, and then you twist them both at the same time. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And you don't really have a certain number of twists. You just want to twist it enough so that it comes right up here near the bottom of your frame, because we're going to be putting some beads in there. So you want to make sure you have some space. So there's 2 branches that I've got. Go this set over here. Twist them together. Give it a few twists here. Get back over there. How's that? Yeah. So let's find my next 2. Yeah, there we go. Scoot those out of the way. Okay. Okay, and last but not least, see, you can see how it's starting to look like a tree. Yay. Last 2. Twist them together. There we go. So there are my branches of my tree. Let me give this one another little twist, and this one. And so I've got my branches twisted almost to the bottom of the frame, and then I can kind of bend them the way I want them to go. So I'm just going to give them a couple of little bends, make them look like little gnarly little branches, just like a tree would. Okay, and you bend it the way you want it to look. And you can continue to bend these. I mean, this is not, if you look at it and you say, oh, I'd rather change it, you can. This wire is very malleable. It'll go where you tell it to go. Right now, it's very malleable. Over time, it's going to stiffen. Where's my other one this one. This wire is not heavy. And when you're working with it, it's so easy to use. You think, well, wouldn't it just collapse? No, this is so it won't even move now. I did this a couple of days ago, and remember I said that these will move around. They did move around, but now, well, that moves just a little bit, but for the most part, they're kind of anchored in place, which is great. So don't worry about the fact that this wire is very movable, because it will solidify or kind of harden in place over time. Okay, so now the next thing that you need to be aware of, do not do what I did and do a beautiful tree, but I can't get my bracelet because I spread the branches too far out. So what I need to do is make sure that I direct my branches up towards the top so that on the side, I can put my cord that I'm going to use to connect my bracelet. Okay, so here we go. That's the start of it. Now I'm going to put on some nice little beads. So I'm going to get a few of these. Ooh, I'm going to use this pretty amber, and see how it's up here at the top of my frame. I'm going to bend my wire, just gnarl my little branches a little bit more so that I can push my bead down here below the frame where I want it to sit. And then I'm going to take the strand of wire and I'm going to wrap it around the frame just like we did down here. So I'm just going to wrap it around the frame a couple of times. And again, you can use that little trick. You can smooth it around straight down the back and then push it through to the front. Nice and snug. Then tighten it a little bit with your pliers. Then bring it around again next to the first wrap. And I like to tighten it as I go because again, this coconut shell is polished and slippery. Okay, and then just push that last little piece down against the frame. There we go. Now, what do I want to put on next? I think I'm going to put this red one on. There we go. Slide that on there. Ooh, beautiful. And again, I'm going to wrap the wire around the frame. Just poke that through. Nice and close. Nice and snug there. Another wrap. Nice and close next to the next. The first one. Yep, around. And if it's too short to maneuver with your fingers, then use your pliers. Get in there. Find it. Find my wire. Oh, there it is. I'm going to use the round nose because I had a better little smaller tip there. A little more wiggle room. Poke that through. There we go. Pull it nice and snug. Let's take that around this time. A little bit. There we go. And smooth that down. There. Oh, so far so good. Okay. Let's see. What do we want to do now? Let's do this fire agate chip beside the red one, or do I want the green? No, let's put the fire agate there. This way, I thought we would have, you know, how some of your leaves, they don't all go red, yellow, brown, and orange at the same time. You'll have a few little green ones popping out there. I started not to use the aventurine, but I realistically, that is what a tree would look like in some instances. Ooh, nice. Okay, let's wrap that around. We get in there. There we go. There we go. Get that nice and snug. Okay, that up. Nice right beside the one before it. That down. Nice. And the more beads you put on, the more of a challenge it's going to be because you have other things that you have to work around. Slide that in there. Let's keep an eye on it so I can see where it's going. And again, use that little trick instead of trying to wrap it around, because what's going to happen is you'll end up, see that, with a lot of space in there that you don't want. So instead of me trying to wrap that all the way around and then pull it tight, I'm going to pull it tight now. Go ahead and make some adjustments with my pliers. And by adjustments, I mean just squeeze it and then continue to wrap. Because it's much easier to get it to be nice and tight in small stages than it is if you try to do it all at once and then make adjustments. Okay, got that in there. Push those together a little closer. Here we go. Nice. And then I'm gonna put the aventurine on. I think I'm gonna do the rest of these off camera. You get the gist. And what I will do when I come back is show you how to finish it up. Push that up a little bit so I can get my little cord in there. Yeah. And I'll come back And after I get the rest of these beads on, and show you how to turn it into a bracelet. Okay, be back in a jiffy. Okay, there is my tree. Oh, isn't that? Oh, I love it. Now it's time to make my bracelet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is now what you need to do is measure and determine how much cord you need to flesh out your bracelet. Now I need 7.5 inches. So I'm going to go right here in the middle here, 3.5 inches is right in the center where my tree is. And then I need to do whatever is needed on the other side of this. So my tree is coming to about, or the frame, I guess I should say, is coming to a little more than 1.5 inches. So I need about 5 inches to complete my bracelet. Now remember that you're going to have a lobster clasp and a jump ring that are both also going to take up space. That's going to take up a good 1/2 inch, a little more than 1/2 inch, about 3/4 inch. More than that actually, because that's going to be attached to the cord. And then this is what your lobster clasp is going to hook into. So we're looking at a good inch taken up by your clasp. Well, 3/4. A little more than 3/4 inch, maybe 7/8. So that you need to take that into consideration when you're measuring. So I'm just going to put this down here and get a rough idea of what I need. So that's where I am. I'm at about 2.5 inches. I need 7.5 inches. So I'm going to need another 5 inches. And because this is going to be doubled on both sides like this, I need about 2.5 inches on each side. So what I'm going to do is cut 5 inches of cord. And I know that's a little longer than I need. 5, 6, 7.5, 8, almost 8.5, but I can cut it down. If I cut it too short, I'm out of luck. So I need that 5 inches plus what I'm going to have to wrap around my bracelet. So I'm going to give myself 5.5 inches. And then that's going to fold over. And right here, just put the loop through the back of my frame and bring the two ends through the loop. Just feed them right through the loop. And pull it. And I want both of these ends to be the same length, so make sure they're both the same. And then I have that. Actually, I'm going to flip it the other way. So I'm going to put it through the front. Depends on how you want it to look. And this is going to be the front. You want to decide which is going to be the front and which is going to be the back of your bracelet. So I'm going to feed the folded part through the front of my bracelet, slide those two strands through the back, and pull. And so that's going to be 1/2. Then I'm going to put my clamp on, and et cetera, et cetera. Let's do the other half. I'm going to measure and see if that looks good. Yeah, so far I've got 3.5 inches. That looks like it's going to be a little on the short side. That's 3.5. This when it's finished is just under 2 inches. So that's 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, not enough because I had to loop it over my bracelet. So let's go back to that again. I'm going to give myself another full inch. So I had given myself 5.5, did I? I'm going to give myself 6.5 inches. That'll knock it down to 3.25, not including what wraps around the bracelet. So let me just see. By process of elimination, I have 6 inches of cord. When I fold it over, that gives me 3 inches of cord of actual usable space. When I put it through my frame and secure it, my usable space diminishes to, it's even, have to get them even. There we go. So now I'm down to 1.75 inches out of the 6. And I need 2.5, 5. I need 5. Because that'll give me 5 inches, 2.5. I've got 1.75. If I have 2.5 on each side, that'll give me 5 plus this, which is 6.5. Oh, I need about another 2 inches. So I'm going to give myself 7 inches of cord. Doing all this so you don't have to do it. So 7 inches of cord. Fold it. Put my folded side through the front of my frame. And then take the 2 ends and poke them through the loop. Make sure the ends are together. And pull it. And now I have not quite 3 inches, about 2.75 of usable space here. So that's 2.75, so 5.5 inches, 6.5, 7 inches. That should do it. By the time I put my lobster clasp and my rings on there, let me double check. I've got 4.25. Add this, 5, 6.25, 6.5, 7, and add those, that'll take it up to almost 8. So I've given myself 7 inches. I would suggest that you cut 8 inches on each side, depending on the size of your wrist. I'm going to give you enough so that you can cut 10 inches on each side. So I'll give you enough leather so that you can cut it down to the size that you need. Okay, let's go ahead and get the other piece. What I say it was 7 inches? So 1, 2.5, and then 5, 6, 7. Yes, 7 inches for mine. Fold it in half. Feed the loop through the frame. And feed the little tails through the loop. And pull. There we go. Nice and snug. Let's just measure what I've got so far here. Yes, I've got 7 inches. Yes. Okay. So now we need to get these even. They're not quite even. So let's do that. Take a little away from one side and give it to the other. There we go. That's better. Check the other side. Good. All right. And now I'm going to take my little clamps. Take one of these little clamps. These little guys have teeth on them. Oh my goodness, look at my nail beds. Terrible. These little guys have teeth on them. Oh, I'm so distracted by my fingers. They look awful. Have little teeth on them. And what you're going to do, make sure that your cord ends are side by side, not crossed over. They're coming straight out from the loop here. Take your little clamp, slide it on the end of your cord, and squeeze it with your fingers. Make sure those are even. And just squeeze it with your fingers. I like to squeeze it a little bit with my fingers before I completely squeeze it with my pliers so I can check and make sure everything looks good. So make sure that they're in there, right in the center. Scoot them over if you need to. Nothing's twisted or crossed over. Then I'm going to grab my square pliers and squeeze them nice and tight. Ignore that piece of tape. I was using it to mark something and I just never took it off. So there's one side, and I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. Make sure that my ends are the same length. If they're not, just make that adjustment. So I'm going to take a little bit away from this side and give it to the other side. There we go. Grab the clamp, slide it on, double check, make sure they're side by side and not crossed over. Slide that on. Squeeze it down. Check the placement, make sure that it's straight and in the center. Okay, grab my pliers and crimp it. There we go. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Tug on it, make sure it feels secure. It does. Very good. And let's finish it off. All I need now is my jump ring. Proper way to open the jump ring. This is a good size jump ring, so I can just hold it with on one side of the little opening, which is right here. I can hold that with my pliers. Your round or your square ones, I find it's easier with square ones to use that as the anchor, and then push down on the other side with my thumb to get a nice clean opening. Then I'm going to grab my lobster clasp, slide that on, and then slide this into one end of my crimp, right there where the little opening is, and squeeze it closed. And then I'm going to adjust it till those ends are flush against each other. And there's no space in between. So there's the one end, and on the other end goes my other jump ring. Another way you can open it is to put your pliers on one side of the opening, one set, then take the other set and just twist. Same direction that you do with when you use your thumb, except that's just a different way to do it. Feed it into my little crimp loop. Close up my jump ring. Make sure that the ends are nicely flush together. No gaps. There we go. And we have a bracelet. And you can adjust this. You can move these around if you want. If you want to, you can give yourself a little bit of extra cord and put a knot in this. But I like the adjust. I like it. I like to be able to adjust it. Kind of move it around a little bit. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is our tree. Why does that look upside down? This must be mirror image. So you're seeing what I see. Yeah, this is the way I see it. Okay, so there is our Tree of Life bracelet. Isn't that neat? I love it. I'm putting it on. There it is. There's my bracelet. It's a little loose, which is strange because it comes out at just over 7.5 inches. But like I told you, you can cut it down, but you can't make it longer. So I will be clipping this down a little bit. But isn't that neat? Straight, trying to get it straight. In the camera, there we go. Why does it look so odd? There it is. There's my tree. Now, remember when you make this, you want to make sure that you have enough space on each side that you can put your ring in there. I mean, put your cords in. Why does this look so strange? I'm trying to get it adjusted on camera. It looks weird. Okay, there we go. There's my bracelet, ladies and gents. Centered to me is not centered to you. So it just looks bizarre. But there it is. There's my bracelet. Tree of Life. Loving it. That's it. That's our piece for today. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Please remember, these tutorials are sponsored by the DeKalb County Library System and are brought to you free of charge, always. The kits that you get, if you're fortunate enough to be in an area where you can, where the branches are that carry the kits, those come to you free of charge as well, thanks to the library. There is never going to be, as far as I know, any charge on these tutorials or the kits that you receive to do the tutorials. And the tutorials, again, as far as I know, never know what YouTube's going to do, will always be out there on YouTube for your viewing. So I hope you enjoyed this. I am loving my Tree of Life bracelet. I hope that you'll make one, and I hope that you'll let me know how everything went for you. If it was kind of smooth, the tutorial was smooth, if you could understand everything. And I hope that you'll show me pictures of your of your bracelet because I'd like to see it at jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's jewelrygin20@gmail.com. You can also leave comments on the YouTube page, which is youtube.com/DeKalb Library. That's youtube.com/DeKalb or you can leave comments and a picture along with the post for this tutorial on the Facebook page. That's facebook.com/DeKalb Library. So I hope to hear from you because I love it when I do. I really appreciate it. And I love seeing what you make. So stay in touch or get in touch and let me know whether you like this or not. And if you don't, tell me why not, because I really would like to be able to improve for you. Until next time. I hope this wasn't too long, but this is not an intricate process, but it takes a minute. But I hope that this wasn't too long, and I hope that you'll do it. And until next time, have a great week, have a good weekend, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.